Happy Wednesday night, everybody. Hello. I'm so excited to be here with you guys. My name is Bev McCullough from Flamingo Toes, and we are stitching up the Spring Flowers mini quilt from my book, Make It Mini. And the book just came out about 2 months ago. And so this is our first sew along from the book. I'm sure there'll be more. We're gonna get through the holidays and then maybe start some smaller projects here and there through the spring. So it'll be really fun. But anyway, we're just starting off with our first sew along from the book, and it's the Spring Flowers mini quilt. And you do not have to do a spring version. I am not doing a spring version, so you can make any kind you like. And we're going to talk all about different ideas today for ways to sub out the embroidery. We have a few people doing different designs in the center, which I love. We have some people doing hearts, we have some people doing machine embroidery, so there's just tons of ideas, but we are going to go over the stitches that you will use for embroidery, and these are great basic stitches. Today we're going to talk about the back stitch and the lazy daisy stitch. And then next week we will go over 3 stitches. So it'll be fun and awesome to be able to stitch this up with you guys. So I'm just hanging out with you, and we're gonna stitch up tonight and have a fun embroidery night. So no sewing machine here because we don't need it this week, which is great. I love embroidering in the evenings. It's so relaxing for me and so fun. So hopefully this will inspire you guys to a love of embroidery too. So let me see who's here. Let's see, over on Facebook. So I'm streaming live to Facebook and YouTube at the same time, so you can watch either place, whichever you like. And on Facebook, it's in my Facebook group, the Flamingo Toes Stitch and Steer Club. And Allison's here from sunny Arizona. It's not sunny here. Excuse me. It's not sunny here, Allison, which is awesome. Wendy's here, and Deanne and Marie's here. Hey, Marie. And Treva's here, and over in YouTube we have Dolores from Rainy, Mississippi, and Sharon from Rainy, Alabama, and Allison from Rainy, South Carolina. Okay, y'all, it's Rainy, Tennessee, so we've got a theme going. We can be in the rain club together. I love it. We haven't had rain in ages, so I'm super happy that it's finally raining here. So that's awesome. Annette's here. She made it. Happy mini day. Yay, Annette. And Sari's here. Sorry, I always say your name wrong. I'm so sorry. Tell me how to say it. And Lindy's here from Texas. Mrs. Beatty's here. Oh, I'm so glad you're here too. And Christine's here. Beautiful day in Colorado. That's lovely. Are the trees changing in Colorado yet? Ours are. They're not like full vibrant color. And I'm actually hoping the rain helps a little bit. I don't know if rain makes a difference or not, but it certainly doesn't hurt, I don't think, because it's been so dry here. So I feel like things are just falling off without actually changing colors, and that's not really my favorite thing about fall. So hey, Barbara and Beth are here. Donna's here. Oh, I'm so glad you guys are here. Okay, so I wanted to show off, since we're on a mini theme, I finished up my Christmas time mini quilt this week. And so that was a free sew along hosted by Fat Quarter Shop. And it was a mystery quilt, so we didn't know. Well, I knew, but those of us sewing along that were bloggers knew, but everybody else it was a mystery for. So you got the block each week, and then you kind of make it up, and then they released the final layout today. So since we're on the mini theme, I wanted to show you guys my finished quilt, and I'll probably show it on Monday too, because I love it so much. And I rolled it up, so it's a little curly. So let me see if I back it up here a little bit. Oh, I have a Halloween cat in the way. Sorry about that. There we go. There's my little mini quilt. And I really am so excited with how it turned out. I used Tasha Noel. She's a Riley Blake designer. I used her Pixie Noel 2 Christmas fabric, which is out right now. And it's just like perfect for fussy cutting. So I just did that with several of the blocks, like the little, let's see if I can get closer there, the little mug block and I did some little stockings on the candies, and then really small there is some little fussy cutting in my greeting cards as well. So I had a great time putting this up together. I can't wait to put it up for the holidays. So I did a couple things on this one. So I pieced the blocks, of course, and then after I pieced the blocks, I did sashiko stitching with my Baby Lock sashiko machine. So I outlined each block with a red thread stitching. Let me get a little closer so you guys can see that. So you can see that it kind of makes the blocks pop a little bit. And so I used my Baby Lock machine for that. I love that machine. It's one of my favorite machines for doing something like this. If that isn't in your sewing machine repertoire, you can easily do something like that by hand as well. Just do a running stitch with embroidery floss or two, double up thread, and go around your block with a running stitch. And you can achieve the exact same effect. The beauty of the Baby Lock is it's quite a bit faster and it's all regulated, so you don't have to worry about getting your stitches all the same size. So I did that after it was assembled because a lot of the blocks, the stitching kind of overlapped into the sashing, and so I wanted it to all be able to work together and have a full outline. And then I quilted it on my Baby Lock regalia. And I used I think it's called Knit 1 Purl 2 is the pantograph, but I love the texture that it has. It's just a really fun, almost kind of knitted quilt. And so I picked one of her fabrics for the back. So there you can kind of see the quilting too, and you can see how cute that is. My goodness, it would just be cute even just this way, right? With the candy stripe binding. Okay, so I wanted to show you that, and I wanted to tell you, like, if this inspires a love for embroidery for you, you could easily do something like this and add embroidery to it. Like if you took the mug and then just cut it out of like a solid fabric and then embroidered a cute design on it or something like that. There's lots of ways, same with like the greeting cards. If you made solid greeting cards and then embroidered something in the center, there's lots of ways to add embroidery to your projects, especially a small project like this that's probably going to go on a wall. It isn't necessarily going to be something that you're going to sleep under every night and be laundered constantly. So just consider that as fun like options for adding embroidery. I don't know where to put that. So that's my Christmas time quilt. I believe I linked to it in the video description. I can't remember. But it is on my blog. If I didn't, I'm almost positive I did. And so you can get all the free patterns for that. And there was a cross stitch along as well at the same time. And that was a really, really cute design. So if you haven't seen that and you love cross stitch, definitely go check it out because it's all free. So that was my mini quilt. And this is the one we are doing today. This is the Spring Flowers quilt. This one was the one that I actually made up for the book, and I used Stardust fabrics, which is one of my fabric collections, and then I embroidered the heart in the center with coordinating embroidery floss. So that's what we're going to start today is our cute embroidery floss. So I want to make sure I'm not missing comments here. Let's see. What did I miss? Thanks everybody, you guys are all so sweet. Barbara said she decided to do a big print in the center of mine and do some pretty quilting with her long arm instead of the embroidery. Oh, for the Spring Flowers quilt, right Barbara? I'll have the top done this eve and quilted up next week. That's so great, that's perfect. Oh, and Donna loves the Christmas quilt and the sashiko stitching, yay. Oh, and you're doing the cross stitch design too. Isn't it so cute, Donna? I love it, it's so great. Okay, sorry. So I always say your name right on the first try, and then I second guess myself, right? I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so glad you guys like it. Well, if you guys have made it, I would love to see your versions as well. So if you're in my Facebook group or on Instagram, I'll look through the hashtag and see if I can see it. But if you're in the Facebook group, I'd love for you to share your photos there so we can see what those look like if you stitched along. Okay, so every week I do a giveaway. Oh, let's talk about the other two sew-alongs, the other sew-alongs that are going on that I don't actually have linked here. So I am also doing, if you want to do a big quilt sew along, I'm doing the Daisy a Day quilt, which is the one that's hanging flat on the wall behind me. This is my garden terrace quilt. It is also in my shop, but we're not actually doing a sew along with that one. So the one behind me is the Daisy a Day. We're kind of in the middle of that one. We've done 2 of the flower blocks. And next week on Monday, we're going to do the bee block, which is really fun. There's only 3 blocks in that entire quilt. Well, there's more than 3 blocks, but there's only 3 kinds of blocks in that quilt. So it's a nice short sew along, and you can totally still dive in if that's something that you want to make up. Or if you want to pick up the kit, now would be the time to do that because it's in shops now, and then you can check out the videos later. They'll be available for you to watch anytime. So, and that holds true with every one of my videos. I don't ever take them down after the live video. They're always there for you guys to watch whenever you'd like. So that's going on Mondays. And then I'm also joining in with the Fat Quarter Shop support group sew along. And that is a really, really cute quilt. It's made up of bras, which sounds funny, but it is. And it's really sweet. And it is also a breast cancer fundraiser as well. So if you want to check that out, go to my blog and look for the photo of the cute bras, the cute floral bras. And that has all the info on that Fat Quarter Shop sew along as well. And check out my blog tomorrow. I have a very, very cute mini quilt that I made up. I took a class at Garden of Quilts from Amanda Niederhauser, Jedi Craft Girl, and I finished up the mini quilt that I started in her class. And so I'm sharing that tomorrow. And it's sort of Halloweenish, but kind of not. Like it could go either way, which I love. I love multitasking with quilts. So anyway, that is this week on the blog. And yeah, I'd love for you to check it out. You can always sign up for my email newsletter, and that makes sure that you don't miss anything. That's a really good way to keep on top of things. And I do have the link to sign up for that in today's video description. In fact, it's in every video description down at the bottom. So check that out if you haven't already signed up for my email list. All right. Oh, Wendy said she loves Amanda's new fabric, Leafy King. You guys, it's so cute, especially if you love plants and cats, which what's not to love about that, right? It's in stores now. It is so, so cute, you guys. I'll show it. I'll show it to you. I think I can have time to do that before next week's video or the following weeks, but because I have a bunch of it. I ordered a bunch because I love it so much. It's so cute, you guys. All right. And oh, Teresa said she can't wait to do the bee. Yay. And Jennifer's here. Hey, Jennifer. Dolores asked if I had a blog post every day. I do not. But right now with these several sew-alongs and things right now, it's pretty busy. So there is something every day this week, but that isn't the case normally. It's always here and there. It just changes every week. But that's why it's good to sign up for the email list, because that way you don't miss anything. All right, so I do a giveaway in my videos every week. It's just my way of saying thank you so much for tuning in. I know you guys have lots of choices, and I just really appreciate you guys taking the time to hang out with me. And they're really, really easy to enter. You just have to leave a comment on the video. That counts as your entry, and you can do that live or later in the week or on Facebook or on YouTube or in the US or overseas. It doesn't matter. So you just comment, and that enters you into the week's giveaway, and then I announce the winner the following week. So last week, the prize was a really fun one. It was, speaking of Tasha Noel, she designed the Pixie Noel fabric that I shared just a minute ago in my mini quilt. She also designed this darling Quilt Fair fabric. It's so cute, you guys. The ribbon is a little bit crooked on this 10-inch stacker, and it drives me nuts. But it's all about little quilty elements. There's like a sewing machine print and little stars, a lot of florals. And then the main prints are all about like if you went to a quilt fair. So there's quilts on the line, there's blue ribbons, there's fair things. It's so, so cute. Hey, Don, I'm glad you're here. So there are the colorways that you can see from the collection. So this is a 10-inch stacker, so same thing as a layer cake. So Tasha Noel's Quilt Fair. Then I have a package of 5 Lori Holt Cute Cuts squaring up rulers. So these are 2.5, 3.5, 4.5, 5.5, and a 6.5 inch square trim rulers. So perfect for trimming up all those blocks that you are doing in all your quilting and all your little projects coming up. So, and there's 5 in here, which is amazing, you guys. And then I have a little Lori Holt sewing machine charm. Look how cute that is. You can never have too many charms, right? I feel strongly about that. there's always room for more charms. So the winner for this is Connie Stanley. Connie was watching last week over on YouTube and commented. I have not seen Connie's name yet tonight, but if you are watching at any point during the week later, Connie, congrats, and send me an email, bev@flamingotoes.com, and I will get this out in the mail to you this week. So yay, Connie! Okay, so this week, since we're doing embroidery, I thought it would be fun to do, I'm going to go from smallest to biggest tonight because, you know, I can. So I have for you guys these darling little embroidery scissors. Okay, I feel very strongly that cute embroidery scissors make embroidery more fun, and they totally do. So these are really cute. They're nice and sharp, and they are kind of like a coppery color, which I love. So tiny embroidery scissors. I also have for you this colorful vintage Aurifil thread box. This is my Aurifil thread box. So there are 10 spools of embroidery floss in here, and Aurifil is awesome, you guys. All their floss comes on these wooden spools, which is so great because it makes it really, really easy to keep track of, so tidy. Plus, there's a lot more on here. There's 18 yards instead of, I think it's 8 in a regular skein of like DMC floss. If you're using fancy floss other than Aurifil or DMC, I don't know the yardage there, but so you get a lot more projects out of one spool. So there's 10 really cute colors in here, and so this is for you also. Thanks, Allison. She says it's a great thread box. I'm so glad you like it. Yay. Hey, Erin. Erin's here. And Rita's here from San Francisco, and Sylvia's here from Kissimmee, Florida. I love Kissimmee. That is well, I've never been there, but I love the name of your town. So, and for fabric, I have for you a Crayola fabric. So it's like a little Crayola box. There are 10 vintage color fat quarters in here. So these are Riley Blake solids, which you guys know are super high quality. I love Riley Blake solids, and they're really, really cute colors. And there's just a really nice variety here. On the back, you can see the color names, and then there's also info on how to get this free quilt pattern. So you would just need to add like a little bit of blue fabric or whatever, like a fabric to go around the blocks, and then a background fabric. So you would have enough, or you could use these to do whatever you want with. Also, solids make really good backgrounds for embroidery, so something to consider since we're embroidering this week. So this is this week's prize. These all will come together, and all you have to do is leave a comment on the video, and that will be your entry. So good luck, everybody. Oh, Dawn says she likes my black cat mug, and she's watching with 3 foster kittens. That's so great, Dawn. You're so sweet to kitties. I had to pull out my Halloween mugs. So I have my scary black kitty, and I have a ghost that I bought at Walmart this week, and I really love it. I'll use it next week. It's so spooky, right, Erin? It looks like one of those vintage cats, you know, that they used to have everywhere, but she's kind of like, she's a little angry looking. We're going to pretend she's nice, though, right? Okay, so are you guys ready to stitch? Let's stitch. So I'm going to switch my camera here for you guys, and we're going to look at this cute quilt. I can't switch. There we go. So this is the heart in the center, and there are several different stitches here. We're going to go over 2 of these tonight. And then the remaining 3 that are used in this mini quilt are going to be, we're going to go over those next Wednesday night. So we're going to hit all the stitches in this quilt, and this will be a great baseline for you. These 5 stitches are used in almost all of my projects that I do embroidery with use these 5 stitches or a combination of. They don't necessarily use them all, but this will give you a really good baseline for how for lots of embroidery projects. So we're going to go over the back stitch. I feel like my hands are like I'm moving too fast for the camera. I apologize if that happens. So we're going to go over back stitching, and we're going to go over lazy daisies. So the back stitching is on this one, the stems of these little leaves here, this stem, and this stem. So mostly just stems in this project. You can do a lot with back stitching. You can do outlining, you can do lettering, all that kind of stuff. And I have a whole video on back stitching on YouTube and in the Facebook group, but they're easier to find on YouTube. If you go to my embroidery basics section, you can find all the stitches there if you want more in-depth information about it. So back stitching, and then we're also going to do lazy daisies tonight. Those are these little flowers here. Those are made with lazy daisies, these here. And then they're also the leaves on these little green flowery things. And then that's what we're going to do tonight. And then the rest of the stitches that are in the heart, we are going to do next week. So let's get started with our info. Now, I am not going to go over the in super detailed information how to do the transferring of this. I have an entire video also on transferring. I did link to that one in the video description. It bothers me if my table lines aren't even with the camera. So I'm not going to go into full details, but I will tell you how I did transfer it very quickly. So I went ahead and I made a copy of the design from the book. If you look in the book, it has all the patterns already in it. So I just went ahead and copied it on my printer, and here's a picture of the book if you haven't seen it. And so once I made that copy, then what I did is I turned it over and I traced on the wrong side with a fine tip iron-on transfer pen. This is, in my transfer video, there are several different ways to transfer a design. You do not have to do it this way. This is just my favorite way. So that's what I did today. So these are from Sublime Stitching. I forgot to link to them, and I'm sorry about that. But if you search Sublime Stitching, you can find her pens. And these are iron-on transfer pens, and they are a fine tip. And that is one of the things that I love about them. Because the tip is so fine, you can see it's really super fine. It makes a very small line. And because this is a permanent pen, you really want a small thin line, because then you don't have to worry about it showing through. You'll cover it up with the stitches, and then you don't have to worry about that. So anyway, these are, they come in lots of colors. I typically try and pick a color that will be easy to cover up. I don't know why I picked green today, because I chose absolutely no greens for this. But that's okay, right? So anyway, check out Sublime Stitching if this is something that sounds appealing to you. I always do it from the wrong side because I don't want to go over this ink. You never really know how, things are going to transfer onto fabric. And so I do always trace onto the wrong side and then go ahead and iron this side, and that puts the image right side up and the correct orientation on your fabric. So that's how I did the transferring. And I did use the same fabric that I'm using for my blocks. So last week I showed you guys I made up my, these are my little blocks for the mini. I'm doing a fall mini quilt, so I'm using this maple fabric from Gabriel Neal Design. It's so cute, you guys. And so the colors are all kind of muted rusts and peaches and this like lavendery color. I'm not a huge fan of lavender, and so I do not have any lavender floss. And so we're not going to have lavender in my heart, but that's fine, right? It's my heart. I can do that. So I'm using the confetti cotton sand as my background. You can see that it's not like compared to my white, where is it? Compared to my white cutting mat, it is a little bit of like an off-white color. So I wanted my heart to kind of blend, and so I chose that same off-white print for my center. Now you can definitely do something different. You can do like a coordinating fabric and put your design in the center. That'll just make your center pop more. You can use something entirely different in the center. And you also don't have to embroider this heart. Allison, who's watching, she's using Enchanted Meadow fabrics, which was a collection that I had out this year, and it has lots of cute little forest friends in it. And so she's making up my hedgehog pattern. She shrunk it down to fit in the block, and so she's stitching that up. I saw several other people are doing like pumpkins or different designs like that. Some are even doing machine embroidery. So feel free to get creative with your center block. But if you're stitching the heart, this is where we're at. Allison said she used a light box and a friction marker, not the pen. That's great. That's great. I'm so glad. Oh, Donna said that my videos are very detailed and easy to follow. Thank you so much. It's the best. Okay, so now I've done my fabric, and I am going to put this in a hoop. So what you want to do with an embroidery hoop is it comes in two pieces. You want to go ahead and loosen that screw, and you want to put the side that does not have the screw underneath your project. And then you want to put the top part that does have the screw on top of it, and then you just slip it over. Sometimes you don't loosen the screw enough to slip it over. There we go. And then you just go ahead and push it down. So that keeps your fabric nice and tight in the hoop, and it keeps your stitches more even. So you might need to loosen the screw on your hoop if you need to, but I really recommend you check your tension on your fabric. You want it to be kind of drum-like. So you don't want your fabric in there so tight that it kind of warps your design. So don't pull on it a lot, because it is cotton fabric. It's easy. It's not that hard to stretch out, right? So you want it in there taut but not pulled, and you want to keep it taut. If your fabric loosens as you stitch, which inevitably it does, it is much harder to get flat, even stitches if your fabric is loose, because you're fighting not only getting your, the actual stitch done, you're fighting the fabric as well. So we don't want that. Okay, so now we've got our fabric in our hoop, and you want to pick your embroidery floss. So these are the colors that I'm choosing. I went with colors that would match my cute fall fabric. So here's my little fall fabric. So I went with colors that would be fall-ish. So these are what I'm using. And I cut a piece of floss, and I went ahead and separated it so we would be kind of ready to go here. And I am using 3 strands of embroidery floss for almost all of these stitches, but definitely for the back stitch and the lazy daisies that we're doing tonight, we're going to do 3 strands of floss. We're going to talk about more strands of floss when we get to the woven roses, but that's next week, so don't worry about that. So just do 3 strands of floss. So, and what that means is there are, on a floss, most floss is made up of kind of 6 very, very small threads that are wrapped together, and they're wrapped around here. So you're going to separate out into like 2 sections, and I usually just separate it out with my thumbnail, kind of pull them apart. Let me get that a little bit out of my hand here. So I just separate them out with my nail, pull them out so I have 3 in each hand, and then I just very slowly separate. And that's all that means, is separating them in. If you use 6 strands, especially on something that's very small and delicate like these little flowers, you lose a little bit of the detail in the flower. So that's why we're going to stick with 3 strands of floss. So I'm going to start with this rust color, and I am going to do this little flowering thing down here. Greenery, but it's not green because it's fall. So mine's going to be rust colored. And we're going to start with a back stitch. So I've threaded my needle. I'm using Lori Holt's embroidery needles. I do have these in my shop, so I've linked to them if you haven't tried them. They're really nice. I don't like a super tiny embroidery needle because I tend to bend them and that's not good. So these are nice and sturdy, and I haven't had a problem with that. And I do like that the end of it is tipped in aqua, which makes it really easy for you to know which end it is that you are supposed to thread. For those of us who have had junky eyesights their whole lives, and then of course age on top of it, it's always nice to have a little like point. Thread your needle here. And these actually, because they are coated, do thread pretty easily as well. So that is the needle I'm using, and I did thread it and I knotted the end with a little slip knot. So that's where we're at as far as getting going. Does anybody have any questions? If you guys have questions, please holler and I will definitely answer as best I can. Marie says she found a cute Halloween machine embroidery design and used that. Oh, that's perfect. Yay. That's awesome. Okay. Excuse me. All right, we're going to start with a back stitch. And what you're going to do is, the key to a great back stitch is keeping your stitches even. So I'm going to move this even further down. And I'm going to do my best to keep it centered here so you can see what we're doing. So you can see I brought my needle up. Is that too blurry or is that okay? I brought my needle up just a little bit from the edge of the design. You can see that the end of my little leafy thing is right here, but my needle is up here. Well, it just came out. So I'm going to do it again. So I brought my needle up and I'm going to go ahead and bring it all the way up. And so I'm pulling it, and that's why this knot is fine. A lot of you cross stitchers hate to knot things, and I get that. When you're doing a cross stitch, you do want your mounted cross stitch to lay really flat, but we are going to put this on, it's going to be quilted, so there's going to be batting there that will make it so you can't feel those knots. So there's a couple different ways to do this. What you're going to do with a back stitch is you're just basically making small stitches, so you're kind of going backward with your stitching. So I've put my needle in at where my line starts, and I've brought it out the same distance as I've put it in, so that my thread is up in the center of those two things. And then you go ahead and just pull your floss, and there's your first back stitch. And all you're doing is repeating that. You're going to put your needle back in exactly where this stitch ends, and then kind of bring it back up. Again, the thread is in the center, so you have this much, the same amount of space on either side of your needle, and then you go ahead and pull. And there's your second back stitch. So one of the big tips on a back stitch is you want to keep your stitch size as even as possible and as close to the same. Now that always doesn't work if you're going around a tight curve, or if you've got a really small area. Sometimes you do need to tighten up your stitch length, but try and keep as best you can your stitches as even as possible. So now I'm just going to do a couple more of those, and I'm going to show you another way. So I am doing it, this first way was bringing my needle in and bringing it out all in the same movement. So you can see my needle goes in and then it comes out. But you don't have to necessarily do that. You can go ahead and put your needle in and go ahead and pull your thread all the way through, and then just come up and make another stitch. So then you're doing kind of not two motions at once, but a single stitch at a time. And you can do it either way it feels most comfortable to you. I kind of alternate between the two methods, but most of the time I do just bring my needle up and then work my way backwards. And I feel like sometimes I have a little bit more control doing it this way. So I'm just kind of stitching all the way up to the point that my line ends. Laura asked if the needle is a certain size. No, I think these are 5s. It doesn't actually say on the packaging, Laura, and I don't know for sure. There are 2 sizes in here too. So you could kind of pick and choose what works best for you in this little package. I don't hold too much with that whole like needle certain size thing. I would just gauge it with what feels comfortable in your hand, what you feel like you have the most control with, and then what works best for your fabric. If you're stitching on satin or something that's, going to make the holes really visible, then you're going to want to do a smaller needle than a large needle. But for most embroidery, a little bit bigger needle is just fine. You're going to cover up your holes with stitching. Okay. Hi Leslie, I'm glad you're here too. So that is a back stitch, and since these little flowers that are on this design, which are basically just little loops with almost like teardrops, those are lazy daisy stitches. So we're going to go ahead and do our lazy daisies, and then I will kind of show you. So these will be like single lazy daisies, but that is what is also right here. These little flowers are also lazy daisies. So I will show you how to do them as singles and then in a flower petal. So a lazy daisy stitch is you bring your needle up from back to front at the base of your loop. So you can see that there's a little loop here, and the point-ish, sort of a point, is at the bottom. So that's where I've brought my thread up. Now you're going to kind of rest your fabric on top of your floss on top of your fabric with the floss, sorry, going this way. And you're going to put your needle in at the base of your little teardrop, and then you're going to bring it back out at the top of your teardrop. So I've got my needle going in right here, and it's coming out right here. Now you want to bring your needle up, but you want to bring it over this floss. So when you pull it, it's making this little loop, but your floss is on top of it. And you don't want to pull really, really tight, or else your little daisy stitch that you've just done ends up straight. And that's really not ideal. If that happens, just go in there with your needle and loosen it back up, and then you can have a cute little lazy daisy. And then, so your thread is inside the loop, but we need to lock it in place. So take a very tiny stitch at the top of the loop, but on the top side, and then go ahead and pull your thread through. So that gives you the little loop and the little locking stitch at the top. So easy peasy, right? Roxana said that she's always enjoyed hand embroidery and she's so glad that I'm out there teaching. Yay, thank you. Okay, so that is what you do all the way down this little cute stem here. So I've brought my needle up at the base of this little petal. I've kind of wrapped my floss around where I am going to want it to go, and I've brought my needle in and then out at the top, and I'm pulling my needle, but remember, on top of my floss, and then you just keep pulling very gently until you have your little teardrop loop, and then make your stitch at the top. Like that. Oops, like that. And you'll do this all the way down your little leaf petal. So I just go back and forth on either side and stitch my way down. I did not knot my thread in between doing my back stitching and starting my lazy daisy stitching. You don't really need to do that unless you're feeling like you feel strongly that you should, but it's all interconnected and it's not going to come unraveled, so you'll be fine without doing that if your lazy daisy petals are the same color as your stem. Now, if you're doing a different color, if you're doing a green stem, then you would definitely want to change those out. So you can see I'm stitching my way down, and I'm going to go ahead and do all these and then knot my floss so you can see what it looks like on the back side here. I'm just stitching through here, doing these, and there's only a few on here. And they're nice little ones. Now the cool thing about the lazy daisy stitch is there's lots of options for these as well. You can use them as little leaves like I'm doing. You can use them as petals of a flower like we're going to do next. Or you can use them as a fill area too. They look really pretty as a fill of a big open area. So there's lots of options for these. You could use them as kind of flower petals if you wanted to do like a long stem and then put a bunch of these on them, and it would look a little bit like lavender or something like that, or some sort of bulb. I don't know all the bulb names. Now I am wrapping my floss from when I bring it up, and let me know if I need to explain what I'm doing anymore. I'm just kind of showing you over and over what the stitch looks like. Now I am wrapping this way, and I don't know if that's easiest for me because I'm right-handed, but it doesn't matter if you're left-handed or if you feel like, you know, you want to wrap going from right to left. That's fine. It doesn't make any difference in the stitch. You can wrap your little loop whichever direction you want. You can see it still makes a loop either way. So it doesn't make a difference which direction you're wrapping. So feel free to do that. Donna said it would look like grape hyacinths if you did that. I think so too, Donna. That is a great idea. Let's see. Annette says she's getting so blind, takes her forever to thread those needles, so I threaded them up last night. Good job. And, you know, the needle threaders do make a difference, Annette, and so feel free to pick up one of those if that makes it a little bit easier for you. Okay, so I've done my little rust leaf here. So cute, right? So what I'm going to do, here's what it looks like on the back. I'm going to go ahead and just put my needle through the floss on the back side and pull my thread through, and then I'm going to do that again. And then just do a little, like a couple wraps through my needle so that it's just a little loose knot. And then I'm going to clip this. Okay, now I have already threaded up a little gold here as well. Oh, and I didn't show you my pumpkin needle minder, you guys. So if you're not familiar with what a needle minder is, it is a cute design on the front, and then a magnet glued on the back, and then a loose magnet. So what it does is it sits on your project. You put the cute design on front and the loose magnet on the back, and then when you're not stitching, it holds your needle really, really well, like really well, so that you don't have to put a hole through your fabric or step on your needle or anything like that. So that is my little pumpkin one, so I grabbed it. Wendy says you definitely need a smaller needle. Do you, Wendy? Okay. And Teresa says she has successfully used number 22 chenille needles, Primitive Gatherings brand, sold by Fat Quarter Shop. Thanks for that tip, Teresa. That's great. And Lindy said that's a better knot than she normally does. Oh, good. And Pam has the cute little pumpkin needle minder. Yay! Aw, thanks, Erin. Okay, so I'm going to show you this little Lazy Daisy flower down here. This is the exact same stitch that we did here, but all of the petals start and end in the center of our little flower. So I've threaded my floss with this gold color. I've done the knot at the bottom, and it's 3 strands of floss, and I am going to bring up my needle from back to front in the center. And I'm going to just go ahead and do the first petal exactly like I did on the others. So I've kind of wrapped my floss, putting my needle in the center and bringing it back up at the top. And then I'm going to pull and then do my little locking stitch at the top. And that forms, the little petal at the top. Sometimes you have to kind of play with these a little bit to get them to lay the way you want them to. Just feel free to get in there and play with them if you need to. That's not going to hurt anything. So now I am going to bring my needle up in the center again, and I've gone to this next little petal to the left. And I'm pulling out my floss. Same exact method, but everything just happens now in the center. So bringing my needle up from back to front. And I'm doing the little locking stitch. And now we've got 2 petals done. And I do tend to move my hoop as I need to. So I don't keep it, face up. And this is just my little, everybody has to find what works best for them. But it's easier for me if the petal that I'm working on is kind of facing up, then I'm not like kind of twisting my hand around or anything like that. So I do move the hoop around as you need to, move your floss around as you need to. Don't feel like it has to stay in one position. It does help on these to kind of to not necessarily be supporting it. So if you can rest your hoop on your lap, then you can kind of play with your other hand to kind of help hold it. Or if you're working on a table like I am, I have my hoop kind of resting on my table as I go. So if you're struggling with this stitch, maybe go sit at a table for a little bit until you get the hang of it, or kind of rest it on your lap, or on, however you want to give yourself a little bit more stability while you're doing these. Maybe you just sit at the table while you do Lazy Daisies, and then when you do everything else, you go sit back on the sofa and watch your movie. Do you guys watch movies while you stitch? I love to do that. I don't really like to just sit and not do anything with my hands. So I do tend to work while I'm watching a movie or a TV show. So this is my last petal. And I've just stitched it through, and I've done my last little locking stitch like that. And I think I have a big loop on the back side of my fabric. Yep. I'm not going to worry about that. So here is what all my little petals look like. It's a little bit blurry, sorry, if I scooch you down. So that is what these look like in the center, and that's what you'll be doing for these little flowers here. This stem will be one that's just like this one here. Let me get over here so I'm not in my face. And then these little are the little Lazy Daisy flowers like this, and then so are these. Now you're going to back stitch this line here, so make sure that you use the same color if you want to for this petal here. that you use as the petals. So pick the same as your stem as your petals. So you're going to backstitch here, here, this little guy up here. You're going to backstitch those. These little dots are French knots, and we're going to do those next week. And nobody's allowed to be scared of French knots because we're going to have you all extremely successful with these. And then this is also backstitched. So that is your homework for the week, is to backstitch and lazy daisy all your little flowers and stems, okay? So does anybody have questions while I am live? Okay, Wendy says, Stephanie's here late and she likes the colors. Yay! I think I missed a comment. Where's my mouse? I think I missed a comment up here. Oh, Rhonda said the needle minder makes her think that if you would make a cute button sewed into the center of the stitched block, that would be really cute. I love that idea. Just put a little button, like a seasonal button inside of your heart. Yay. Hi, Stephanie. Donna says that she watches while she stitches and uses a lap desk when she embroiders. That's very smart. And Stephanie likes to listen to movies, but movies she's seen before. I'm like that when I'm sewing on the machine. It does need to be, for the most part, something I've seen before, so I'm not distracted. Allison said that my stitches are looking nothing like her stitches are looking nothing like mine. You just gotta practice, Allison, and don't worry. You're the most critical person of your stitching. So I am sure that you would be the one to notice the difference, but nobody else will. Everybody will think that you're super awesome and your stitches look great. Lindy, does the locking stitch go back in the same hole or above where you came up? It doesn't matter. You just want that locking stitch to be as small as possible because then it's not as visible. Then you're not really noticing it. I wonder if I can get even closer here and get you guys to... There we go. Look at that. Okay, so you can see, if you really zoom in on these, you can see the locking stitch at the top. But I am very close to this camera, and so for the most part, if you're looking at that normally, you're not going to see those locking stitches. So you can go back in the same hole or you can go just above it. It doesn't matter. Whichever works better for you. Okay. Let's see. Diana says she likes to watch quilting videos and floss tube videos that she's missed. That's awesome, Diana. Okay, so I did want to talk really quick about care of this as we're stitching. So I'm going to switch back to my main camera. So just really quick, on this mini quilt, because these stitches are, some of them a little bit looser, this is not necessarily a mini quilt that you're going to want to launder all the time, especially when we get to next week and we do the woven roses. That is a stitch that's meant to look at and not mess with a whole lot. So this quilt that you're working on, and I maybe should have said that at the beginning, and I'm sorry if that messes up your plans, but this quilt is a decorative quilt. So you can use it as a table topper and then spot clean it. You can use it as a wall item, you know, that kind of thing. But just keep in mind these stitches that I'm teaching you, like the Lazy Daisy, it's a loose stitch. The Woven Rose is a loose stitch, and those stitches are not ideal for laundering. Now, if you want to launder it, then you can do something like a satin stitch, back stitch is okay, that kind of thing. So just, you know, keep that in mind. I hope that doesn't mess up anybody's grand plans for their project. So anyway, that was backstitching and Lazy Daisies. If you guys want more in-depth of those, tutorials of those, I do have YouTube videos for both of those, so you can check those out in my embroidery basics section. And you can always email me or message me if you guys have questions about anything. So I can't wait to see your stitching. Definitely share. We want to see and cheer you on. Don't not post because you're worrying how they look. Everybody's beginning, right? So it doesn't have to look perfect from the get-go. And again, I promise you, it's going to look great to everybody else. So don't be too harsh on yourselves. Nobody is perfect at everything at the beginning, right? All right, so All right, you guys, thanks so much for tuning in. I hope that was helpful for you. Next week, I will talk not so much at the beginning and we'll just dive in. We got 3 stitches to do next week. French knots, woven roses, and satin stitches, and that will finish out our stitching on our cute mini quilts. So can't wait to see your progress. Everybody share, and I will see you next Wednesday. Don't forget to enter this week's giveaway by leaving a comment if you haven't already. And I will see you Wednesday, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in. Bye.